what does a real estate agent actually do? I'm Kyle Wong with the Moxie Real Estate Team out here in Colorado. If you have any questions about the topic I talk about today, feel free to reach out using the link below. I would love to hear from you. So, I'm not even kidding. I actually had a friend I told I was getting my real estate license, and he literally said to me, he's like, "Oh, why? Don't you like just make a lot of money and not really do anything?" And I was like, wouldn't that be a better reason to get my real estate license? I'm just kidding. He did say that actually, but that's not what we do. So I know there are a lot of misconceptions out there and perhaps even bad experiences. And so I'm not talking about those, but legally defining what a real estate agent is, as well as talking about what you're actually supposed to do and what would be helpful for not only our industry and you fellow real estate agents, but also for our clients, the people that we serve, for our markets. So first and foremost, I have my list over here to the side. What does a realtor not do legally? So I know you've heard this a lot. Maybe it's happened to you before, which really sucks, but you cannot lie and try to get higher commissions, meaning if you're working with a buyer, set the price higher than what it should be or negotiate higher because you're not acting on behalf of your client as a fiduciary. Talk more on that later. You're actually doing your client a disservice, and that is not only highly unethical, but that is also illegal. So another thing you cannot do is withhold information from your clients. You cannot tell them that, oh no, the house did not have major mold or major foundation issues. You have to disclose all material facts. That is not only you acting as a fiduciary on behalf of your client, but it's also written into the buy and sell contract. And I'm here in Colorado, so some of these things may be specific, but generally this is pretty broad, right? So everybody should be under this umbrella. So the other thing is, this is a really good one, party and get paid for nothing. I'm not gonna lie, actually that may be true for a lot of people, but not for this guy. There are a lot of agents out there that like to pretty much, I wouldn't even say do the bare minimum, but they just want to show up and expect a check, and that may actually be true, but is that what you're supposed to be doing? No, and we'll talk about that. So what is a real estate agent actually? So a real estate agent really is simply somebody that is licensed legally by the state to perform and broker transactions, real estate transactions within whatever state they are licensed in. So for me personally in Colorado, you have to take a bunch of courses, show your certifications for said courses. You have to take the federal and state tests, right? So there are national laws that apply to everybody. And again, I'm within the US, so this does not apply internationally. And then the Colorado specific test for that. And then what they do is they actually send your fingerprints to the FBI, you get a background check, you get a lot of different things. So I make it sound like it's a lot, but it might be a little more than most people think. Probably a 4 to 6 month process total to get your real estate license. In my opinion, the barrier is still too thin to entry. It could be a little bit more difficult, but here's where the real players shine. It's in the next 5 years. So that is what a real estate agent is. So defining brokerage relationships, what does that mean? You as a real estate agent can operate in certain agencies for your clients. So first and foremost, when you get your real estate license, you actually have to be under a brokerage. So everybody's heard of Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker or Live Sotheby's or any of those big companies. My company is eXp Realty. So you have to get your license under another brokerage. And the reason why is because in the state of Colorado, they call everybody a broker, either a broker associate like myself or a managing broker. But in other states, you are just a real estate agent, and then there is a broker from there. But what that means is, I know this is getting a little complicated, but you have a managing broker who has experience, who has legal liability for every single thing that their associates and their underlings do. But then you, as the agent, have the freedom and ability to perform underneath them, meaning all of your contracts go through them, all of your marketing goes through them. You have to be plugged into a company, very similar to an attorney. And again, I know that may be another sleazy industry that may not have a very good reputation, but in a lot of ways we are very similar. And I'll explain a little bit more why in a second. So what does a real estate agent actually do? So first and foremost, at its very core, a real estate agent helps clients broker the transaction between buy and sell, lease and, leasing, right? Landlords, all that stuff, property management, all of those things. They help clients perform real estate needs. Now, here's the thing. While we are performing real estate law by writing up contracts, procuring cause for a buyer and a seller and all of those things, we are not attorneys. And there's a very fine line there. You want to make sure that there's a delineation, because we cannot interpret any information for you. We simply present it to you and give our professional recommendation, but we cannot go into the details. We cannot explain things. That's why legally we actually have to always recommend that you always consult an attorney, a real estate attorney, water law attorney, tax attorney, a CPA, your accountant, whatever it is. We simply provide you the facts and make sure that you have all the information available, but you have to make the decision. We cannot do that for you. So that's why I think this is so important, because when you're buying and selling a house, there are 1,000 moving parts. There's so much going on that maybe you're aware of, but maybe you're not, right? And any little thing, especially when it comes to laws and contracts and all that stuff, can really trip you up, especially if you get into investing, if you get into commercial real estate. There are a lot of things out there that you need to look out for. So very important. So what we do, we research the market. Obviously, you want to have the most up-to-date information. You need to know what's going on. It is hyper-local and it's hyper-specific to timing, especially right now in late 2023 at the time of recording. Man, things change on the daily. Seriously, when it comes to rates, when it comes to what's selling, what's not, even legal changes, right? So new laws, when they come out, we have to make sure we know what we're doing so that we can best advise our clients that way. So due diligence on properties. For example, if I represent my buyer and we're going to purchase a home, it's actually funny because technically we don't have to do research on the property. That's super subjective, but we have to take the information that we're given, so any material facts about a property, and we have to deliver that to our clients, right? So that is our legal obligation. But for me personally, why wouldn't you do due diligence on a property? Why would you want to get that far knowing as much as you know for your client without doing a little bit more digging? Again, that's one of those things where I think you should be going above and beyond. If you have the knowledge, if you have the expertise, and you should make the time, that's what you should be doing. So more than that, knowing your real estate law and contracts. So we talked about this a little bit, but you should know your contracts backwards and forwards, right? There are a lot of different things that you go through. Sometimes we send disclosures, sometimes we send other documents, but when it comes to our contracts, those are legally binding. That is the definition of a contract. So if you sign, if your client signs, if somebody else signs, you need to make sure that everything laid out in that contract is something that you have in your head. Do not just go filling things out. And I won't share that. There's just a lot of things that I've seen that in my opinion, are a little bit negligent. So do research on your real estate agent. Take your time. I mean, seriously, don't mess around with this stuff. Talking about negotiating deals. So you representing the seller as the listing agent, or you representing your buyer as the buyer's agent, it's your job to negotiate those deals on behalf of your client, because like I said earlier, you are their fiduciary. So when your client signs with you, either as their listing agent or their buyer's agent, you are their fiduciary. And what that means in legal terms is essentially you owe them legally. You are obligated to be working on their behalf, right? So you put your client's interest above your own. And you have to make sure that whatever they need, whatever they want, that comes first, which is, again, why you cannot lie to get higher commissions. You cannot withhold information from your clients. You have to make sure that everything that you know, they know. And to make it really easy, I think, how would you advise your friend? How would you advise your family, your mom, your dad, right? You want to make sure that they have the best deal, that they know everything that they possibly can, and that you're negotiating the heck out of that deal so they get exactly what they want because you represent them. That is your obligation. So marketing properties. As a listing agent, it is your job not just to take iPhone photos and throw it up on the MLS. It is your job to market properties. So you can go as crazy as you want. Us, since we do a lot of luxury real estate and we pride ourselves in any work that we do, to be quite frank, we have a professional website. We do professional photography, night day transitions, all kinds of videos, drone shots, 3D tours, everything. And then we do nice glossy brochures. We hit mailers in the surrounding neighborhoods. We want to make sure anybody and their mom knows that our house is being listed for the sake of our client. Because if we're just going out there and we're throwing, hey, I got a new house for sale on Facebook, that's not really helping anybody, is it? We want to make sure that you are getting the best price for the best terms because we represent you. So, hey, maybe that's just me. That's how I feel about it. That's what you should be doing. But also to seek out property. So when you represent a buyer, pulling up Zillow, pulling up Redfin, your client can do that. They're probably sending you properties, which is fine. In this day and age of information and available technology, that's awesome. But it is your job to take your professional knowledge and resources to go above and beyond, to show your client properties they don't know about, to talk about areas they may not be familiar with, and give them all the information necessary to make the best decision possible. So if you find yourself in a place where your client's sending you all the properties, maybe you should question that. Maybe you should do a little bit more digging and find what they want and be proactive about their search. So after that, I had a client who one time we kind of got into it because she wanted me to show her a bunch of houses. We wanted to go around. She wanted to do all this stuff. And I said, hey, actually for legal reasons, I have to make sure I have a buyer's agreement with you signed. And what that is essentially is a contract saying, I legally represent you as your agent, right? Because if I don't have that signed, I could just be another guy. We have no legal tie to each other, and I cannot legally write up an offer for you because I don't legally represent you. So needed to get that, needed to make sure we did that and got everything settled and talked her through the process and all of those things. And I realized her hesitancy behind signing that contract, which I get. I understand. Nobody wants to sign something and not know and be screwed into something, right? But by the way, for me personally, if you sign a contract and you hate my guts, you don't want to work with me, great, tear it up. I don't want to work with you either. That's fine. But she thought I was like a car dealer. You represent Ford, you represent Mazda, and I can only sell you what I have. But that's not how this works. Real estate agents are not like car dealers, we're like attorneys. You hire us, we represent you. Again, I want to be very clear there, we are not attorneys. We are not attorneys at law, not lawyers, but in our role, you hire us to work on your behalf. And so that is truly how I see my role, is as an advisor first. I represent you and your needs, and I use my professional knowledge, education, and resources to get what you want. So, that being said, I'm sure this question is going to come up. How do you people get paid? Great question. So first and foremost, if we ever do get paid, no, I'm just kidding. You can actually structure your payment however you want. That's the beautiful thing about those contracts, is that when you list with an agent, you list your home to sell with an agent, or you work with an agent to buy a home as your representation, you can set up whatever you want. You could pay them nothing, write that in the contract. You could pay them an hourly fee, a retainer fee. You could pay them a salary for the next 3 months. But what's most common is the commission check, right? Everybody knows most real estate agents are 1099, which means they are contracted workers. So what that means is we get what's called a success fee. And so traditionally, again, there are a lot of lawsuits going on about this right now, some very serious ones, which is why I think it's so imperative that everybody knows this information. We do not set prices for anything. Everything is negotiable. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to as our client. And if we don't want to do it, we don't have to sign it as your real estate agent. So traditionally, I shouldn't even say that. What I like to do with my clients is a success fee. And so what's amazing about that is when you write up a contract, hey, we're going to find you a home in this area, I'm going to represent you for this long until we close. How are you getting paid as the agent? So it starts as the listing agent, right? If you come to me, or if I go to you and we're selling your home, you get paid out of that, okay? So I, as a real estate agent, say, hey, when we close, I'm just going to throw around figures. It could be anything in the world. If we close on this property, I would like 6% of the sale price. And what that means is from your proceeds, you don't cut a check, you don't do anything. From the proceeds of your sale of your home that you sell, I would take 3% for myself, right? Because we closed the deal, we did the job, and that's what we get paid. And I would take the other 3% and give it to the buyer's agent, essentially as a finder's fee, right? And so as the buyer, when you work with your client and you say, hey, I will represent you in finding you a home, you can write up whatever contract you want. You could say the same thing. I want $3,000 an hour for the next 90 years. You could do whatever you want, but they also do the same thing. They say, hey, upon closing, I expect a payment from the listing agent. And so where those two come together is the listing agent gives the buyer's agent that 3% as a finder's fee. Does that make sense? I hope that made sense. So basically, when you close on a deal, you guys both get paid. The buyers don't pay anything on top of the closing costs and whatever for purchasing the house. It's actually the seller of the home who foots the bill for that. So very important clarification I wanted to make there, but that's pretty much it. So again, if you have any questions about this, I'm Kyle Wong with the Moxie Real Estate team here in Colorado. Please reach out down below if you want to know any more about this. I know it can be kind of a heavy topic, but I wanted to shed some light to this because there's been a lot going on recently, and I think you guys should know from somebody that's in the industry. So yeah, thank you guys for listening.